So good morning, and great morning, guys. Welcome to another fabulous episode of Exit Strategies Radio Show. Hey, I'm your host, Cohen J. Millett, broker and owner of Exit Realty Low Country Group in beautiful North Charleston, South Carolina. So guys, is this your first time, your very first time? Like, this is like it. Like, we're going to do this today. Listening to this show, hey, you're in for a treat because our mission is very simple. And that is to empower our community through financial literacy and real estate education. Guys, we're legacy building. That is what we do. We've told you for a while to put that hashtag on it. So when you're tuning in, when you're focused on that next level, what are you going to do? What are you going to leave? Hey, this is the place where you can get some information and some insight to help you achieve that for you and your family. So I got to give a quick shout out to those who listen to us faithfully. You tune into us and hey, look, guys, we are, don't tell nobody, but we are going into a new market. I'm super excited about it. And we're going to be sharing this content and this information in multiple cities now on radio. I'm super excited about that. But thank you guys for tuning in from Monkey's Corner and my mama live out there all the way down to Hollywood, what you know, no good, all the way through Charleston, guys. You guys rock. For those who tune in from around the world, listen to us on your podcast applications. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. So today, I'm super excited. Anytime we talk money, you know, the OJ's made this song, money. Every time we talk that, I get super excited because it is an opportunity for us to take it to the next level. So when we are able to, quote unquote, grab hold of somebody who is at that next level, hey, we're super honored. So I'm super humbled to have with us none other than Christian Osgood. Now, Christian is, hey, one, he's my kind of guy. He is that I started from here, now I'm here. Hold on, Drake made a song, started from the bottom, now I'm here. I love that. So he has that, guys, as a storyline, if you will, in his life, in his journey in real estate investing and educating and helping others. So I'm super excited to introduce him to you all as a member of the Exit Strategies Radio Show family. So Christian, how are you doing today?
Dude, I am doing fantastic. Privileged to be here, man. Thanks for having me on.
Well, Christian, thank you for taking time out your busy schedule. Now, if you don't mind, you know, give our listeners that 50,000 foot view of who you are and what got you here.
Well, unlike a lot of real estate investors or entrepreneurs, a lot of people, they read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I hear that on my podcast all the time. People are going, I started with Kiyosaki. I started with Dave Ramsey's. I started the opposite end. That was what my father told me to read. My mentor at the time told me, hey, this is the way to do it. Take on a minimal or ideally no debt, save your way up, eventually buy rentals. I went from first grade, second grade, third to fourth, middle school to high school, college to first job, all the way through 4 different sales jobs, 8 years of career to save up to buy my house and 2 duplexes. And I got to a point in my career where I started as a screen printer of t-shirts. And then I moved into the sales company for the distributor. So I started at $11.50 an hour and I worked my way up to about $250,000 a year in sales through a career. So I scaled a scalable career. A lot of people make a lot more than that in sales. A lot of people make a lot less. I would say I was doing well in sales. That's a healthy salary. I got to that point. It got me 2 duplexes. They cash flowed each just a little north of $1,000 a month. So about a little over $24,000 a year. That's net. That's what I had at the end of paying all the bills and the mortgages to pay myself, which was super convenient as my mortgage on my house was $2,000 a month. So it took me 8 years, built a place, and I felt great about this. I remember sitting down with my wife and going, the real estate is paying for the real estate. My real estate is now effectively free. From here on out, my tenants pay all 3 mortgages. This is great. I have 4 units. Well, then we had a little thing happen in 2019, 2020, where everyone was working from home. I won't say the word so we don't get a strike on whatever algorithm is out there. But there's a thing that happened where we had some extra time to think. My wife was a kindergarten teacher. So she was teaching kindergarten in a really impoverished area of Seattle. A lot of refugees at the time were being placed in that area. So we had a lot of kindergartners. English is not their first language. Many of them, both parents work. Many of them have 4 or 5 other siblings all trying to use the internet at the same time. It was a disaster. It was absolutely awful. Then we get back from that, and immediately my wife gets injured. It was a mess. The school district mishandled it. And so we went from, hey, we're really content and we're really happy and we're buying a few rentals one at a time, moving forward financially. My goal shifted. It wasn't just, hey, I would like to be more wealthy for time. It was, I want to retire my wife now. 2 duplexes. If anyone's bought their first rental property, you may know this. 4 renters is not enough to retire you. 2 transactions, that is not financial freedom. That is $24,000 a year. That is, I've moved forward. That is not, I am free. I was looking at it, I'm like, how could one retire my wife in 2 years when it took me 8 years to build $24,000 a month? Around this time, I left my super high paying job to go figure out the answer to this question. Like many people, made the mistake of thinking, well, the easiest way to be an investor, I should start with getting a real estate license. I'll give you guys a hint here, by the way. If your sole goal is to own real estate, the way you do that is you buy real estate. It is not get a license. It is not get a job around it. It is once you buy a property, you are in fact a real estate investor. If you want to be a larger investor, focus on buying more properties and increasing your cash flow. But I went to a brokerage, and in that office, there was at the time, he was 19, just to turn 20. He had 24 rentals. He bought 2 duplexes. He had never had a W-2. He had only sold 1 duplex, so he's made like $5,000 in his life as a real estate agent. And he's bought, like, at the time, it was about $2.5 million of real estate. So I just closed on my second duplex. He buys the 6 unit across the street. He's now 20 with 30 rental properties. They're all performing quite well. And so I sat down with him, like, how are you doing this? He's like, well, keep finding these deals. And I talk to people, and a lot of people, about 40% of owners, own their properties outright. So less than 50%. I've just been asking, and when someone's willing to carry the contract, I don't need to go through the bank. I don't need an approval. He did his first 3 deals seller finance. And I was, at the time, I was just turned 29. I was like, okay, is it possible for me to get to 30 units by 30 doing what you did? Or was that, do you feel like you just got lucky, or do you feel that this is repeatable? His name's Cody Davis, by the way. He's the most watched episode of all time on Bigger Pockets. I loved his response. He's, well, I don't think I can help you because I want to buy a 38 unit. I need a partner to help me run it, but that would put you at 42 units. That would not get you to 30. And I was like, you know what? That math makes sense to me. We ended up taking out that building. It was on market for 13 years at $2 million, 38 units. It was underperforming when we picked it up. At the end of the first year, it appraised for $4.1 million. We got a bank refinance. We funded it 85% seller financed, had no friends or family who had money. I had spent all of my money buying those 2 duplexes the Dave Ramsey's way, save and buy them. I had no cash. Cody's never had money in his life, so he didn't have any cash. He's 20 and unemployed. We went through, I called another broker in the office, and I said, hey, do you have anyone buying 4plexes who wants to buy bigger multifamily? So these are all people I've never talked to, don't know. I'm 2 levels removed. It's a broker who I've heard of and his clients. We called 4 people. It was a great deal with great terms. 3 of them said, yeah, I'll throw in $100,000. We raised the money, first time ever in our lives. $300,000 came in less than 2 days. We closed the deal. We bought them out of a cash out refi. I never spent $1 on that property. It is cash flow positive at day 1, all the way through. Investors bought in at 3. I bought them all out at 6, which means the remaining $1.5 million of net worth that went to Cody and I. The rest of the cash from that refi, we reinvested in the building. We approved it. We got collections on that building from $5,000 a month to $31,000 a month. 2 weeks after that, we bought a 6plex. A week after that, I bought a 7plex. A month or 2 after that, we bought a 12plex and a 10plex. We just kept buying real estate, and it turned out it kept working. I did this in Central Washington. Then I started buying in Texas with my buddy Caleb. And we did the same thing in Texas. Laredo, McAllen, Houston, Stephenville, which is still my favorite market in the U.S. I love that little college town. It's a little south of Dallas, Tarleton College. Absolutely phenomenal areas. The same strategy worked in red states, blue states. Today, I'll be closing in about 2 weeks on a 44 unit. We just got financing approval, so that will close. That will put me just over 300 rental units, and I've been doing this for about 4 years. It's been an amazing journey. I'll stop rambling, and I'll let you do the thing and host this. But
so I'm over here just giddy. So for anybody who's watching the video, y'all probably, wait a minute, what did his face just do? What was that? I'm over here giddy. I love it. I love it. It's interesting, the concept and the constructs that you're talking about. We make things more difficult than what they need to be. I got a deal on the table. I got an opportunity on the table. And instead of me trying to figure out how I'm going to do it all by myself, which is what most people do, and they miss the deal because they can't do it by themselves, let me go figure out a little bit of leverage over here to help me get in here, and I can always buy them back out later. I love that.
Where everyone gets stuck, this is normal. If you don't have the money to buy the real estate, and if you have $1 million, you want to buy a $10 million property, you still don't have the money. So regardless, if you have $0 or you have millions of dollars, if you have less money than the amount of real estate that you want to buy, you start with the opportunity. Everyone goes, well, I don't have the money, so I need to go out and I need to find the money and I need to build the network and I need to get Rolodex to be able to. You need an opportunity. If you get in front of someone who has all the money you need and you have nothing to present them, you still have no money.
Yeah.
If you start with the deal, which is what we did, we had 38 unit. I believe in this deal. It's been out here forever. No one else has pitched the seller finance term. We can make this deal work, and I believe this is going to work. So I have an opportunity. Then we found what financing options are available. Before I went out and tried to find additional money, what are the options? Like, okay, well, this seller finance package, we can get to 85%. I'm trying to raise 15% of a deal that makes money day one that has millions of dollars of upside. Anyone on planet Earth can raise $300,000 if you believe that it will make $1.5 million to $2 million. You can find that money. And turns out, without any experience, relationships, or like knowledge of how one would structure these, we were able to get through 4 calls and 3 people gave us $300,000, and we used those to make our first $1 million each in real estate. That is the order of operations that everyone needs to, like, that's what changed for me. It's deal, then debt, then equity. It's not go out and find the money. It's not equity, deal, debt, which is how most people get stuck. Try to match the deal to the money. You're going to limit yourself on deals. If you try to match the money to the opportunity, money is really easy to tailor. There, you can buy them out later. Cash flow is heavy. You can use debt. You can blend debt and a future buyout. You can offer preferred returns, delayed return. Like, tailor the money to the opportunity you have, and all of a sudden, you have like infinite opportunities.
Yeah. One of the things I think people miss, Christian, is that people with money want to have their money make money. So they're looking for opportunities to where they can put their money to work. People, oftentimes when someone is getting over to the investor side, if you will, the consumer side only thinks, I got to work to get paid. I got to work for my money. But investors think, well, my money should work for me. Different mindset, different thought process. So I'm loving this. But you use creative financing. So if you don't mind, for our listeners, define creative financing or give us your definition of that. And then how do you typically use that in your day-to-day approach to a potential deal that you like to take down?
So creative finance is exactly what it sounds like. It's creative finance. It's anything that is not conventional. So your standard transaction, you'd run to the bank, you would ask them what they think of the deal. Some of these deals, they're absolutely bankable, but I don't want to go through all the underwriting process, the credit checks, the endless paperwork. I don't want to do it. So I love seller financing because you get what you negotiate. In seller financing, you go to the seller directly. They own the property. They have equity in the property. You can finance anything you own. So instead of buying it in cash, you buy it in payments. It's the same thing as a bank loan, except that you get to negotiate the price, the interest rate, the loan term, any special clauses you want. It is completely customized money. You can do the same thing with private capital. You can raise from someone else. If you can sustain the debt, you can tailor the money however you would like, borrow it, buy the deal. Also, you have to be a little bit more nuanced with your legal team to make sure you do it right. But it's with $500 to $1,000 of legal advice, you can do a joint venture with someone and you can tailor the future buyouts or the operational cash. I bought a deal, second seller finance deal that I ever did. We actually wrote it in the contract. The guy I partnered with was a Microsoft employee I met at a Starbucks. He had lost money flipping property. Then he made money. Then he lost it. Then he made it. And so when I was talking to him, he's like, I'm tired of making and losing money in real estate. I just want to double my money every 5 years. He just presented, how about this? I need cash flow right now. I'm trying to retire my wife. You have a high paying job. You need less cash flow. You're trying to multiply. I'm trying to add right now.
Yeah. I love that.
Cash flow is $1,000 day one. You provide the $90,000 and I have to buy you out. it has to be an option legally, but I have a buyout option to buy you out for 180 in 5 years. You double your money. If I don't exercise that option, you get the buildings. He's backed by 100% of the buildings. I got $1,000 of cash flow immediately. Little sixplex. My goal is to get to $15,000 to retire my wife. I was 1/15th done with the mission for one set of signatures. I actually bought him out at year 3. So now I own that property. It cash flows closer to $3,500 a month today. He's happy. I'm happy. The property paid for the property. I got the real estate to buy the real estate. No money left my account. I put together the deal and I operated most of the deal. You have to be active in a JV, so all partners have to participate somewhat. But I did most of the work, all of the setup. And for that, without spending any money whatsoever, I was able to own that asset, and that asset itself was able to buy the investor out. We've acquired a lot of real estate. Now, when I have money, I spend it on real estate. And don't get me wrong, I've made a lot of money in real estate. So I do buy real estate when I have money. When I don't have money, I continue to buy real estate because, again, deal debt equity. If we find an opportunity, then we'll just go out and we'll find the money.
Christian, my man, you look here, you over here got me excited, and look here, you're speaking my language. So you focus on multifamilies. So obviously over the years in general, we've had people that focus single family and all kind of stuff, commercial storage units, etc. Why multifamily?
Oh, thank you for asking that question. Multifamily. Okay. You can make money in single family. You can make you can make money in anything. Then that's the nice thing about real estate. There's a lot of ways to make money. There's not a right or wrong way. Here's why multifamily is right for me, and I think it's right for a lot of people. First of all is the stability. On a single family or multifamily up to 4 units, it's appraised based on what your neighbor sold the property for. Like, market conditions outside of your control are the primary driver of the valuation of your property. In commercial, 5 units and up, they take your actual operating income that you are able to generate, and then they factor in market conditions and what we call a cap rate. That's the return an investor would expect if they bought a building in cash. So it's a way for us to compare apples to apples. What return do people expect in this market? The market conditions influence price, but your operations are the primary driver. So when I took a 38 unit building, when I take that from $5,000 to $30,000 a month in income, it is worth astronomically more. Now, did I overpay for a building that only makes $5,000 a month? Absolutely. $2 million is insane for that. However, we wrote a debt product that didn't have any payments for 6 months so that we can get the collections up. Custom debt product. I cash flowed all the way through. I was paid to do the project because tenants were continuing to pay and rents increased. Now that is bringing in a lot more, though. That's how we got a higher appraisal. I buy about 100, 150 units a year. We do average across the portfolio, like per 100 units we buy. There's usually like $100 of rent increase. Sometimes it's more, but we'll take underperforming properties. We're not jacking rent above market. We're getting people part way to market rent. But in like a 6 cap market, the way the values work in multifamily, you take 100 units, you raise rent $100, which is still way under market rent from where I bought them.
It's $10,000.
Yeah, $10,000 a month. It's $120,000 a year. You divide that by 0.06. That's the valuation. You make $2 million over 100 units. That's insane. $2 million a year. Now, that's a little bit less than we do in value add because some properties we've bought at 500, rent's 1,000, we got them to 850. But I have direct influence and control over that. I can say very predictably, I will make $2 to $2.5 million in net worth gain. That you can take that to a bank. This is how the appraisers do it. That's how they're underwriting. I will make $2 to $2.5 million on this particular project every single year. If I do not scale, I don't add to my teams. I just do exactly what I did the prior year. I can't do that in housing. The market goes down, interest rates go up, values change, people fire sell. It changes the value of your property. So that's why multifamily is it for me. This is a business that I want financial freedom and I want scalability from. I want to actually buy business assets that are designed for business, which, again, you can make a ton of money in single family. There's a ton of models to do that, but it's not designed to be a business. Single family is designed for houses, for families. You can make money in it, but the debt products, the strategy, multifamily runs a little bit more fluid. I'm going to add one thing to this really quick. Owning duplexes, then owning a 12plex, and owning a 38plex, owning a 44 unit building. A 12plex isn't that much harder to run than a duplex. And cost effective wise, putting all those units underneath one roof, one set of utilities, you
Mhm.
actually have price efficiency. It actually is
Mhm.
cheaper and typically more profitable. If you did a good deal for a duplex or you did a good deal for a 12plex, over time, a larger building just has more appreciation. You have more price efficiencies. It is easier to run. A
So
44 unit's not that much harder than a 12plex. It's not as difficult as I think people think to scale. At the end of the day, it's just a building. It's like that's all
well,
it is.
one of the things I talk about along that vein with folks is obviously scalable, but the other thing is efficiency. Because when you have
Mhm.
scattered sites, if you got a vendor that has to go from here, the cost is higher than having everything centralized in one place. Having all the doors helps you to be, again, way more efficient, because if you have a maintenance person that, handles all of your stuff, you're not losing time with them having to drive from site to site. They have one site to be at. And then you also, if you have a site like that, you can create storage and keep the miscellaneous supplies in one place. That again increases your efficiency as well in bulk. So I love what you're talking about as far as, scale. So I do want to pick you for one more thing. We're getting quote unquote on that tail end, but this is that nugget that I want to pull out of you,
Mm.
if at all possible, which is the mistakes, because you've done this. So that means if you've done it, I know, Christian, that it was not smooth all the time. So what were those, if you will, those big mistakes or big items that you ran into? We're not going to do it this way again.
I call this the stupid tax. The owner meeting podcast, it's by I host it with my company, Multifamily Strategy. We talk about this in every single episode. I think it's important that people learn. The dumbest you'll ever be when you start any venture is the beginning, because you learn a lot along the way.
Mhm.
I had a really good one. So I made the mistake of thinking, hey, I am a seller financing expert and a real estate purchaser. I'm a real estate investor who does a lot of creative finance. That is not my business. As I've matured, I am a multifamily, and I like entry level multifamily. I like servicing like people who need housing, and I come in on the lower income end and I take properties and make them way nicer than the neighboring properties, and I run them very well. I am a value add and entry level multifamily guy who happens to be good at creative finance. What we did is I bought a resort, Class A waterfront resort in Hood Canal, seller financed, 20 cabins, individual hot tubs, foothills of the Olympic Mountains. You can see orcas from some of the cabins on the water. There's a river that runs through the campus where salmon run up. That we actually just ended the salmon season. Unbelievably cool asset.
Yeah.
And I hate running it. I'm not good at hospitality. My team's not good at hospitality. It takes me a ton of time. It has 9 employees. The amount of money that I have lost from the time I've spent trying to run a resort as opposed to just scaling my existing business, millions of dollars. I was actually looking at, I built all the value of that in the terms. So it's one where we bought it for about what it's worth. We might have slight overpay, but we got 4.5% interest debt. So we won on terms.
Okay. Yeah, you went on terms for sure.
If you win on terms, your terms are only valuable while they're in place. If you sell the building and you had a slight overpay and you want out of the project, that is one of the weaknesses of creative finance. There's not an easy pivot out of it unless you can transfer the existing terms, which the seller's not interested in. I have looked at it. Makes money. It makes money every single year. And if you go all the way through the life of the note, it makes a ton of money, millions of dollars. I am actively evaluating, do I take roughly $1 million loss on the property so that I can focus on the rest of my business and make the $1 million elsewhere? Because it's so much easier for me today to make $1 million doing the other things than try to do that. $1 million loss is insane. I started with $5,000 in my bank account. The fact that we're having the conversations of we hate running this so much, and it's such a distraction and it's so frustrating that as well, we could lose $1 million and not do it, or we can keep doing it and it will continue to suck time from the things that I love. That was the biggest mistake I made, just thinking like the hubris of, oh, well, of course we can run a resort. We're business people. We've been successful. Past success does not dictate future results. And that was, we learned that the hard way.
That's a lesson there. And that's interesting, Christian, because I talk about that with other people around me, agents in my office, etc. Because it's one of those things like, where's your time best used? Just because you can do something. I just said this a few days ago to one of my agents. You know how to change the oil in your car, but the time it's going to take you to change the oil in your car, you could have been sitting in your car and waiting for somebody else to do it. And you could have made more money doing something else, if you will. Because not saying that there's something wrong with you changing the oil in your car. But if your time invested elsewhere is going to bring you a better return or bring you a return with less headache, then you may want to consider the alternative versus. So that sounds like where you guys are. My God, a resort. Oh my goodness, man. That is priceless. That's priceless. So Christian,
not for me.
hospitality is not for you. I love that. So Christian, you guys have a podcast. Obviously, you've established other companies, ancillary, if you will, to support the operations that you have. But where can people reach you and where can people connect to you on your podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my podcast and like thousands and thousands of YouTube videos are on my YouTube channel, Multifamily Strategy. I finally got the darn plaque, so we finally got our 100,000 subs. So absolutely check that out. That is completely free, and I share a ton of information because the information is, I just did not have that when I got started. So if you guys can learn from any of the mistakes or successes I've had, especially the mistakes, check out that channel. We share everything there. And then you can reach out to me directly on Instagram at Christian Osgood.
Awesome. So Christian, we quickly got to the end of the show, but I want to get this question out. That might drop question. It's the 2020, the hindsight question, because you've had an amazing run so far. My question to you would be, if knowing what you know now, you were able to go back to the beginning. So whenever it was that you made the decision that at some point in time, maybe when you picked up Dave Ramsey, let's say that, what would you have done differently from that point that you think would have you further along now?
What I was focused on with Dave Ramsey, and then after I finally did read Rich Dad Poor Dad or any of the other finance books, I do a ton of reading. What I was focused on the entire time was getting and saving more money. What I should have focused on was, where do I actually want to go? At year 8, I decided retire my wife, build my dream home, start my family, and be able to spend time with them. To do that, I engineered, okay, well, how much does that cost on a monthly basis and how soon do I want to be there? I set a real goal. I spent my entire time from Dave Ramsey's all the way through with the goal being a generic more will be better, which is a stupid, unattainable goal that has no destination. If I had done anything different, I would have, instead of working for money, I would have worked for skills, the skills that I would need to build what I wanted to do. I would have been much more efficient. I would have had a much shorter career and learned what I wanted to learn. If you were being intentional, it turns out you can learn years and years faster than if you're just wandering. And then I would have actually set the course to where I'm going. Meeting that 19-year-old, doing business with him at 20, seeing a 19-year-old do that, I realized all of the steps that I took, I could have done when I was a teenager. Just didn't, because I was trying to qualify myself for a job where I was going to hire myself. Like, this is ridiculous. Work for skills, not money, and plan where you're going. That if I had done those two things, I'd be tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars ahead of where we are today, because it took me a while to learn it. I'm 32 today. I wish I learned it sooner. I'm glad I learned it as young as I did.
That's awesome. I love that. And I've never heard it put that way. Or matter of fact, I don't even think I've ever heard anyone say that at all. So Christian, thank you for that nugget for our listeners. I'm going to take that one as well and categorize that over here. Okay, this is what we need to be doing. It's one of those things, and I know, again, this is your experience, and sometimes it's others' experience as well. You set out to do something and you realize, wait a minute, man, I should have done it this way. And you're always making adjustments. And oftentimes people think that there's a set plan and a set way it's always going to execute. But the reality is the finesse in it and the success is found in the necessary adjustments. Okay, I need to tweak this a little bit. I need to turn the screw over here. I need to loosen this up a little bit. I need to get rid of this doggone resort or whatever it is, you know? And that's where true success lies. So Christian, I want to thank you, my man.
Absolutely.
Man, look here, I'm gonna have to get you back on here because literally we have had an amazing show. I want to thank you for your time today, for your insight, and most importantly, for sharing your wisdom.
I appreciate you having me on. Bring me back anytime. I'm always happy to do it. And I will, I messed up the scheduling for this 3 times. So I'll be easier to schedule next time too. Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate you.
No worries. So for our listeners, guys, look, you got some tremendous value out of this today. And I'm saying that you have, it's up to you to determine that by executing on it and making something happen with it. This is wisdom, quote unquote, from essentially, guys, we went to Oz today. That's what we did. We went to Oz. And look here, we have talked with the great and powerful Oz, if you will. And we have had this conversation, and he has shared with us tidbits and nuggets and insights and strategies and all these other tools and resources he has laid upon you that you can go out and build similar, the same, or even better. So create your own Oz. Create that world where financial freedom exists, where freedom lives. Guys, I thank you all for tuning in. Again, Christian, I thank you so much for being on. You know what I say. You know how I feel. Hey, we always keep this thing here 100 and real over here. I love you. I love you. And we're going to see you guys out there